I'm back for the new year. 2025 is my year. I'm being serious. So it is 2025 here on the Jib Rules channel, and this year, instead of hiding the goals that we have for the channel, we're gonna lay them out on the table. This year we are posting every single Friday. Yes, Friday. Usually it's Saturday. Sometimes it's Sunday. But I said, you know what? Let's end the week on a bang. Or start the weekend on a bang. There's a couple goals that I'm gonna set. One is a video every week, and the other is 100,000 subscribers. This has been a goal of mine since yesterday, so I decided let's do it today. Genuinely, guys, though, I am very grateful for the year that we had. You know, I don't think I speak very seriously on this channel ever. If you want to see me speak seriously, go and check out the second channel. You know, I'm going to be doing just random videos on that. But genuinely, in the last year, so 2024, we went from about 800 subscribers to nearly 50,000. You know, hopefully in a month or two by my birthday, we'll hit 50,000 subscribers. And I am very appreciative, but it means nothing. Yeah, you guys just want videos, you want good content, and that's all that I'm going to provide. So anyways, cut the chit chat and play the clips. Make sure you leave timestamps for your favorite parts of the video in the comments below. And of course, I will see you next Friday for the first real upload of the year. Eden Hazard, the BBL Messi, and of course prime Eden Hazard received the ball on the halfway line and said, fine, I'll do this myself. As he received the ball, he made our best centre back at the club, Koscielny, already trip up. He then easily breezes in front of an oncoming Francis Coquelin and holds him off with, of course, his backside. Hazard's backside must have enchanted Francis Coquelin because he had some sort of possessed exorcism reaction and fell straight to the ground. Hazard's then in a 2v1 situation. He skims inside and out of Koscielny and boom, vintage Hazard, and a lovely goal against my beloved Arsenal. Now, Mo Salah's impact upon joining Liverpool in 2017 was instant, to say the least. He came back to the Premier League with some vengeance in his heart, winning PFA Player of the Year and scoring 32 goals in the Premier League alone. He scored 44 goals in all competitions, 10 assists as well, and he just so nearly missed out on a Champions League medal too. In my heart, I believe that if Salah didn't get injured in that final, Liverpool would have won, and that season for Salah would have gone down in history. Because now, when people talk about runs of form in football, oh, Cole Palmer's the best player in the league. Why weren't you saying this to Mo Salah? This guy had a bigger impact on the scene than Mr. Beast on YouTube. Mo Salah is the Mr. Beast of the Premier League. He just turned up out of nowhere and started making hits. But then you look back at his discography, you look back at the history of Salah, and this guy's been doing it for years. Just like Mr. Beast. He didn't just come from nowhere. This guy was grinding. Salah was unstoppable this season. He was tearing up everyone. He was literally on that right wing, looking like the Egyptian Messi. Messi with an afro. He even cut off the hair this season. And no, did that affect his form? Or did a little haircut affect his form? I'm Fernando Torres. No. Yeah? Cut off his hair, looking like Jib. In 2019, Lucas Moura single-handedly led Tottenham to a Champions League final. It was Tottenham against Ajax in the semi-final of the Champions League, and Ajax had already secured a first leg victory at Tottenham's home ground. So essentially, these Tottenham players needed to pull off a comeback, and all eyes were on who could spark a turnaround. And from the kickoff, it was Lucas Moura who showed his intent. His pace and dribbling were causing problems for this Ajax defence. But of course, Spurs will be Spurs, conceding 2 quick goals to Ajax. The aggregate score now favoured Ajax, and Tottenham fans had lost belief. But when all was seemingly lost, one bald fraud turned up to the occasion. In the 55th minute, Lucas Moura scored his first goal with a sharp finish after a powerful run, turning the match on its bald head. Then in the 59th minute, he completed a breathtaking solo run, evading defenders before composing himself and finishing off. This brought Tottenham to 2-2 on the night, but they were still 1-0 down on aggregate, with 3-2 being the score. They needed one more goal. Time seemed like it was slowing down for Ajax, and Spurs were about to scrunch up this UEFA script and throw it in the bin. Because in the dying embers of the game, Lucas Moura completed his hat-trick, sealing a 3-2 victory. Tottenham of course winning on away goals, a rule that has now been abolished in the UEFA Champions League. Lucas Moura's 96th minute winner and hat-trick on the night was historic, sending Tottenham into a Champions League final against Liverpool. And of course it wouldn't be the fairy tale ending for Spurs fans, but you can't lie. That is a historic game that will go down as one of the best games in Champions League history. And Lucas Moura didn't score many goals for Tottenham during his time there, but he sure did score some important ones for the club. Watching Barcola is reminiscent of the golden era of wingers. The ability to cut inside but also go on the outside of your defender. Comfortable playing on both sides of the pitch. And tidy feet on the ball. I'm telling you, when you see Barcola with the long sleeves and the gloves, defenders better start taking paracetamol, because they're going to be in for a headache. I think it's time to talk about one of my favourite players of all time, Neymar Jr. Now, young Neymar scored a goal for Santos in 2011 that would win him a Puskas award. And in this game against Flamengo, Neymar picks up the ball from where else? The halfway line. And with a flick of his magic boots, Neymar springs into action, and he's exuding this trademark flair that we all know him for. Now Neymar takes off like the Flash, leaving Flamengo defenders in his wake. His feet were a blur of skill and precision. The crowd rises in anticipation as he dances through the midfield, and as Neymar enters the final third, he's in his element. With a feint here and a step over there, he mesmerizes these defenders, and they're lunging in desperation, but Neymar is one step ahead. And now in the penalty area, Neymar's one-on-one with the keeper, and with a flick of his wrist, he sends the keeper the wrong way. The stadium erupts in jubilation as Neymar is heralded as the new messiah of Santos. Even if he was to leave directly after scoring this goal, they would still make a statue for him. Now there's nothing more memorable than wearing a mask on a football pitch. Players are mainly forced to wear carbon masks to protect themselves after suffering a facial injury, with the likes of Victor Osimhen, Lewandowski, Son Heung-min, many players donning the infamous mask. The mask that can make or break your season. Recently we saw it break Mbappe's season and his form during the Euros, where he suffered an injury to his nose early into the tournament, then had to wear a mask for the rest of it, definitely influencing his performances. But some players do thrive when they are handed the mask. Something like masked LeBron, they go on this incredible run of form and display traits that you've never seen before. The likes of Osimhen went on a goal scoring run when he had to wear a mask a couple seasons back, and also Ronald Araujo for Barcelona. But one iconic masked moment that I have to talk about is Fernando Torres wearing the mask. When he suffered a facial injury during his time at Chelsea, he wore the mask during a Europa League final against Benfica in 2013, where he opened the scoring in that same game and led Chelsea to win. Just going to show that the mask doesn't always mean that you're going to play bad. Now Kylian Mbappe really doesn't have anything to prove. With a World Cup and multiple domestic titles to his name, what else is there really to achieve? But that is the mentality of someone that doesn't know their true potential. We all know that on his day, Kylian Mbappe is the best player in the world. But after struggling in performances for Real Madrid this season, it's like his spark is just gone. And I think it's way harder than it looks because he put a lot of expectations on himself. He has entered a Real Madrid side that has already got standout players that are holding down clutch moments for the team. Unlike when Ronaldo joined Real Madrid back in 2009, they didn't really have the guy. Of course there were ballers at the club that had already made their legacy, but Ronaldo wasn't coming into a side that had promising players that were already taking over the game. And he can't fulfill his potential because Vinny's not moving his position on a pitch. They occupy the exact same zones, but do you really think Vinny Jr, who has held down that left hand side for Real Madrid for like 2-3 seasons, is going to be like, you know what, let me go right wing because Mbappe wants to float left? No, it is just not the same, and it is a clash of auras. The only real option is if Mbappe steps the hell up, decides, you know what, I'm playing this striker role like a striker. I ain't floating left no more. I'm holding these central areas, I'm dipping into midfield, picking up that ball and running with it and scoring myself because I've had enough. That's what this guy needs to do, and he has every capability to do it. And don't start sending me penalties. I don't care. A goal is a goal. Now after re-evaluating my opinion on Raphinha, I've come to terms with the fact that he is an underrated winger, not only by football, but by me. I, like a lot of people, completely overlooked his output for Barcelona. Labelled by many as inconsistent, he has actually been a crucial forward for the likes of Barcelona and also Brazil. And I think it's because the football media world is just so loud. Lamine Yamal this, Bellingham that. Endrick this, Jib this. Standout players seem to get overshadowed by their younger counterparts. And of course it's not like I watch La Liga week in and week out, but just seeing a handful of Raphinha's performances, you can tell that he has an impact. Not only seen through the eye test, but also statistics too. In the last year, he has averaged 5.28 shot creating actions per 90 minutes. That's insane. For context, the average for a winger is 3.95, with the highest echelon being Florian Wirtz, who averaged over 6 last season. Raphinha also totaled 7 goals and 9 assists in just 18 starts last season, playing 29 games, starting 18 and having 16 GA. I think it's time that I take a seat and start to respect this guy. Now, from one shot creating merchant to another, it's time that I finally put some respect on Cole Palmer's name, because statistically Cole Palmer is one of the best players in Europe right now. With 6 goals and 5 assists in his first 7 games in the Premier League, he started off the season red hot. 4 goals against Brighton and a hat-trick of assists against Wolves. I think the perfect way to describe Cole Palmer right now is high volume, and this is because he is the key factor, the cog in this young, youthful Chelsea side. Without him, this team doesn't really fully function, because he's the one that is pulling all the strings. It's like asking an orchestra to just play off the dome without the conductor, and Cole Palmer is that guy with the stick waving it around. Watching Cole Palmer is like seeing an academy baller go play 7-a-side with guys that just finish work and also just go to the pub after the 7-a-side match. Averaging 5.90 shot creating actions per 90, Cole Palmer is proving again that last season wasn't just a one-season wonder. He's here to stay and cement his legacy in this league, inserting his name into the top bracket of attacking talent in the Premier League. Michael Olise is another winger that we must talk about, and even though he doesn't do a lot of talking, I'll do it for him. Michael Olise is a chance-creating merchant, and maybe it's because of his history as playing as a number 10 for Reading. Before his move to Crystal Palace, this guy was prolific and actually was the best player in the Championship at one point. Coming off an injury at the start of the season, this guy played like he had a point to prove, averaging 2.9 successful dribbles per 90 and also contributing to 10 goals. Of course, we have to take in the fact that he did get injured in the season again, but he has made that move to Bayern Munich now, and hopefully he can replicate that form that we saw from him last season on a grander scale. Who is stopping this team? Somebody tell me. Tell me. I need someone to come here, slap me in the face and tell me that Arsenal are going to compete with Man City. Liverpool are going to compete with Man City. Tottenham, Solanke is going to compete. Now, another player that needs to be mentioned when we talk about Barclays Premier League scorers is Jermain Defoe, a prolific Premier League striker during his prime years, thriving at the likes of Portsmouth but particularly Tottenham Hotspur. Before Harry Kane, there was Jermain Defoe. Not the tallest or the strongest, Jermain Defoe still managed to get about on a pitch. And even to this day, you put prime Defoe in the Premier League and he would be like top 5 strikers. Over his Premier League career, he scored 162 goals in 496 games, placing him amongst the top 10 all-time goal scorers in the league. And one thing I always liked about Jermain Defoe is that he had an impact off the bench, holding the record for the most goals scored as a substitute with 24. Even when he was in and out of the side fighting with a transition that Tottenham were going through, he still managed to get goals from the bench, not complaining. And I even remember back in 2009 when Tottenham won 9-1 to Wigan, Jermain Defoe scored 5. Throughout his career at Tottenham, he was a consistent performer, and I think he genuinely goes underappreciated, especially with new era Tottenham fans. And at the end of this 90 minutes where all the Atletico Madrid players celebrated, Diego Simeone showed his true character. A character that had lingered throughout his entire career. This was displayed in full show, taunting the Juventus fan base but also a former Real Madrid legend in Cristiano Ronaldo. And this gesture would linger within the heads of these Juventus players going into that second leg. Now, during this game, Ronaldo entered the pitch with a mission to not only get back at Diego Simeone, but Atletico Madrid, a team that he had conquered so many times during his career at Real Madrid. He had a point to prove. He did not move to Juventus to be mediocre. It was time to make a statement. And I think from what I remember, he did just that, scoring a hat-trick in the second leg to lead Juventus to a 3-0 victory, with 2 high-flying headed goals and what else but a penalty to seal the deal. With the weight of not only his team but also his legacy on the line, Ronaldo stepped up for this penalty, slotting it away, in before running to the corner flag and hitting his famous celebration, with the sound of "Soo" reverberating through the entire stadium. This was pure revenge, and it would go on to be even sweeter. Not only did Ronaldo celebrate with his usual celebration, but after this game had ended, he replicated the celebrations of Diego Simeone, taunting back the Atletico Madrid fan base, but also the Argentinian manager, showing that it was his actions that really ignited the flame within him to have this performance. And I think this moment was a clear turning point in Ronaldo's career at Juventus, proving that he was still at the top of his game and one of the best players in the world. And of course, looking back on it now, we know how much damage Ronaldo did during his time at Juventus. Now, from some all-time world-class players to a guy that once had a spell playing for Southampton. Now, during the 2018/19 season, Ajax were on a phenomenal run of form. A run of form that saw them go all the way to the semi-finals of the Champions League. But I think this side that was managed by Erik ten Hag's bald-headed self was orchestrated perfectly by Tadic. Dusan Tadic had found himself in this Ajax squad and was pivotal to a lot of their success during this season. And it was in the round of 16 against Real Madrid where this squad started to turn heads. Now, after the first leg in the tie, Ajax were trailing 2-1 down to Real Madrid, with the second leg being hosted at the Santiago Bernabeu. And if there was one person that ate their Weetabix on the day of the game, it was Dusan Tadic, because this performance that he was about to put up would be rated 10 out of 10 by L'Equipe, a French publication that critically analyzes performances of players, with not many players receiving an official 10 out of 10 rating. But if you want to be rated fairly, then obviously put the performances of the 10 out of 10s in the Jib Rules comments, and I will rate you 10 out of 10. Mini Minter, 10 out of 10 in the Sidemen charity game back in 2020. So the scene was set at the Bernabeu, and this Ajax side came to town and came to play about with this squad. Now, during this time, Real Madrid were going through a transitional period, losing the likes of Zidane and of course Cristiano Ronaldo. But even without these two, the odds were stacked in their favour, because look at the squad. Just look at the squad. As soon as this game kicked off, you saw the power scale of this Ajax side just increase. Like Erik ten Hag had just put +10 overall on all of his players. But this ain't FIFA. The main reason that Ajax were playing so good in this game was heavily due to the impact of Dusan Tadic. Now, Tadic decided to morph into Zinedine Zidane during this game. Something like Ben 10, pressing the watch and said, you know what? Zidane, because from the off he was influential in the game, picking up the ball from the halfway line, driving with it, absolutely rouletted the hell out of Casemiro, sent this guy doing the Spinaroonie Booker T style into a different direction. Then he threads a ball to, I think it was David Neres, who chips it over Thibaut Courtois. And then still he's relentless, creating chances during this game, in before saying, you know what, I don't want just an assist, I want a goal too. Receiving the ball, putting it top corner and leaving again Thibaut Courtois looking into the corner like a madman. And then of course in the game he got another assist with a perfectly weighted pass into Hakim Ziyech. Ajax went on to win this game and win the tie, but it was Tadic's performance that really stood out, because even though he left the Bernabeu with 2 assists and 1 goal, he had 7 dribbles completed in that game, whilst also creating 5 goal scoring opportunities directly. 91% pass accuracy and this almost magnetic ability with the ball at his feet. I don't remember him losing the ball once in that game. He was absolutely toying with the Real Madrid defense and made them all look like they were close to retirement. Now, back in April 2022, former Newcastle winger Alan Saint-Maximin was given 2 charges by the FA for wearing a certain headband in 2 Premier League games, which kinda made him look like some form of Ninja Turtle while breaking defenders' ankles.
That's gotta be racist. There's no way
and it was definitely not the first instance that Alan Saint-Maximin had pulled something like this off. Early in his career at Newcastle, he brought along the Gucci headband that he used to wear for Nice in Ligue 1, playing a game against Man United with the headband on with a sticker just over the logo. Headbands have always just looked incredibly cool to me, and I bet some of you don't even know this, but young Cristiano Ronaldo used to wear a headband too. Young Cristiano Ronaldo was even rocking like a half cornrow, half headband sort of vibe. Like, Ronaldo had a lot of early pioneer moments when it comes to fashion on the pitch. Now let's take a step back into the 2010s, which was a golden era for strikers. We had bundles of bagsmen that set the benchmark for the strikers that we have today. During the last decade, we can see that the average goals per game was 0.75. In the top 5 leagues in Europe, strikers were scoring at a 0.75 average chance. That means they were scoring every 3 in 4 chances that they got. But after the last few seasons, that exact stat has gone down to 0.60, a clear decline in the position of the striker's effectiveness. Now, one major reason for this decline is the overall evolution of modern football tactics. The likes of Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp popularized the tactic of a high pressing game where a team's defense actually starts from the front of the pitch, which therefore has increased the workload on strikers, making them over time less focused on purely scoring goals. I think it's hard to overlook someone like Pippo Inzaghi. Inzaghi was often described as a goal poacher, a striker that lived on the edge of the offside trap. His uncanny ability to time his runs perfectly was a nightmare for defenders, and during his peak he helped AC Milan, just like Pirlo, win Champions Leagues in 2003 and 2007. And let's just take it back to that 2007 Champions League final, where Inzaghi's predatory instinct helped him throughout this game, capitalizing on every mistake and every moment of hesitation by the Liverpool defense. His first goal being a deflective free kick, and his second being a deft touch past the keeper. He was just a guy that was able to anticipate and execute. And with over 300 career goals, you can't say that this man was not good at his job. Being in the right place and at the right time was just his thing. And his stats speak for itself, averaging a goal every 2 games. For an ability that could be made redundant in the modern era, this guy took advantage of being a poacher. But not just a poacher, a man that mastered the art of beating the offside trap. He made being a striker look easy because he was not good at anything else but scoring. I'm telling you. And you know what's crazy? There was always a guy back in school that played just like Inzaghi. No technique, no ball control, hardly any speed. He could do about 3 kick-ups, but when it came to game time, you start him up front and he's bagging goals. Now, from Italy to Merseyside, I think it's only right that we talk about Ryan Gravenberch. Now, Gravenberch is proof that the eye test in football actually works. Because if you haven't watched him play and you just took a look at his stats, you'd be thinking that this guy was playing, I don't know, the bench. Not really impacting on the goals or assist front. You need to take things into context and realize that he is being deployed this season as a 6. And it's like ever since Rodri got injured for Manchester City this season, Ryan Gravenberch has stepped in his place as the tippy top of central defensive midfielders in the league. And I think it shows when you just look at Liverpool's recent form. Gravenberch has been crucial to transitioning the play for Liverpool this season and can seamlessly turn defence into attack. And for me, one of his best performances came in the Champions League against Bologna, where he completely ran the show. And I think the evidence is there too, because he's averaging 7.15 progressive passes per 90 as a defensive midfielder. Usually with a lot of defensive midfielders in the Premier League, you get them playing safe passes side to side, consistently just recycling the same movements over and over again. But with Gravenberch being deployed as a central defensive midfielder for Liverpool, he's implemented some sort of dynamism into the midfield. And especially as he's a creative player that has been pushed back into this reserved role. The stat of 7.15 progressive passes goes hand in hand with his 2.75 progressive carries per game, which is also a clear demonstration to show that if there's no options, he can do it himself. And how many times have we seen it this season where Gravenberch is stuck in a tight spot and he just wriggles his way out and is now found, you know, in this space where he can look up and now play passes to the likes of Diaz and Salah. And I think the one word that perfectly sums up Gravenberch in this new Arne Slot system is thriving, because these traits of defensive solidity, ball progression and playmaking are making him a vital part of this Liverpool side. And I think for Liverpool fans, he's turned into this hybrid of Wijnaldum, Fabinho and the likes of Coutinho. Let's see how the season unfolds and check back in with Gravenberch come the end of it. Now, from a young player stepping up and doing the business to an old head that is rolling back the years, we have to talk about Robert Lewandowski. Now, Lewandowski heard all the haters when they said that he couldn't do it in a big league, claiming that all Lewandowski's goals came in a farmers league. But now he's moved to Barcelona and seamlessly has transitioned into the goal scoring machine we all knew him for. And it's like this guy is just getting better and better and reaching new heights. And after a somewhat stale campaign last season, even though he still did score a lot of goals, he's come back into this new season under Hansi Flick and he's turning up. He's locked in. He's doing TikTok dances. He's ready.
I'm not a fan anymore of Robert Lewandowski. I don't like bro.
For me, Neymar is the definition of a real winger. Throughout his career, he was dominant, playing on the left-hand side at Barcelona and then translating his game when he made that massive move to PSG. And I remember the day specifically that I said, you know what, this guy is my favorite player. It was 2013 and a young school Jib was watching the Confederations Cup final. Now, Neymar and Brazil took on Spain, and if we were looking at these squads man to man, we were thinking in our heads that Spain were going to get this over the line. But one man said otherwise, and from the first minute, he dictated the entire flow of the game. The way the pace of the game changed depended on the way he played. When he had the ball at his feet, it's like you were watching the game in slow motion. He was playing passes here and there, and eventually he got his goal. Neymar ran rampant, dominating the Spanish defense with the likes of Piqué, Jordi Alba and Sergio Ramos. He was not only the star man, but the standout man in this team of Brazilian misfits. A Brazilian side that was reconstructing itself after having a golden era in the 2000s. But that did not stop Neymar Jr. from showing the world that he was not only a brilliant player, but a brilliant winger. Taking on his man whenever he could, pace in behind, could take the ball to feet, dropping in deep to help the midfield build up play. It was outstanding. And that week, I remember asking my mum to buy me some Hypervenoms. I wanted to play just like Neymar. In the 2016/17 season, Cristiano Ronaldo in the Champions League was absolutely phenomenal, scoring 10 goals in the knockout stages alone. This season was a hallmark of clutch performances from Cristiano, including a hat-trick against Bayern Munich, which was again such a dominant display, and also against Atletico Madrid, a team that he would haunt throughout his entire career. He played 13 games and scored 12 goals, 10 of them being in the knockout stages of the competition. This guy said, you know what, boys, go and have your fun in the group stages, yeah? I'm gonna wake up from my nap when I'm ready. Knockout stages came and Cristiano came to town with that trim, yeah? With that trim. People want to replicate that trim. You can't replicate that trim. You can't replicate that trim and put up these performances. If I can replicate that, I can't replicate that trim. There's only certain people in the world that can have that trim. And he's one of them. LeBron as well. And Michael Jordan. And not only did he score 12 goals, he also got 6 assists too. This guy's putting up season numbers like it's the Premier League. Some of your favourite wingers right now, they're putting up these numbers. This guy was doing it in one competition. And let's not also forget that he scored twice in the final to beat Juventus 4-1, helping Real Madrid clinch their 12th Champions League title, the T90 line. Now, Nike T90s defied the 2000s era of Nike football boots, worn by the likes of Luis Figo, Roberto Carlos and prominently Wayne Rooney. Nike eventually discontinued the line. Growing up, I was lucky enough to have 2 different pairs of these, and I don't know if they were authentic or not, but they sure did feel authentic when I was slapping in goals at break time, at lunchtime, and even during my midweek games. I own the Total 90 Laser 1s and also the Total 90 Laser 3s, and I swear, that was when prime striker Jib was in business. Initially, when these bad boys dropped, some of the most classic names in football, the types of players that your uncles would talk about, were promoting these boots. The likes of Francesco Totti, Lilian Thuram and Edgar Davids, just to name a few. All of the designs in the line had a prominent 90 on the boot, which slowly but surely developed into this foam target pad that would be used to strike the ball perfectly. I'm telling you, when a player wore these boots, their shot power automatically went to 90 plus. As soon as you connected with that pad to the ball, it was going top corner every single time. It felt marvelous. Pure heritage. The 2011 versions of these boots are the ones that I, recall having the most memories of, with a lot of strikers at the time wearing them and scoring bangers week in and week out. But of course, I was too young to really witness the early 2000s brilliance when these boots were first released. But just imagining a rebirth, a revival of this boot line is making me go insane. Next up, we can't go this video without talking about Rory Delap, a man known for one thing: his throw-ins, with his throw-ins often being more dangerous than corners, providing a crucial weapon for this side filled with Goliaths. And I think a lot of Stoke's success during this time can be attributed to their fullback Rory Delap, who helped them time and time again in crunch moments. He's one of the main reasons why Stoke was seen as such a threat during this time. Can he do it on a cold rainy night in Stoke? Yes, he could. And again, this side, laced with the influence of Rory Delap, tormented my Arsenal.
Who? Tell me who?
Pogba in a France kit. Not any other kit, just the France kit. Although Pogba's legacy overall has been a failure, you cannot deny when Pogba put on that France jersey, when he represented the French national side, this guy was different gravy. You ain't never seen a saucier player than Pogba at that stature, being that light on his feet, just bodying players, slipping it through their legs, dominating. This guy lifted up a young Kylian Mbappe during the 2018 World Cup and again helped his side win. Back in October 2014, the half-time whistle blew between a game of Liverpool and Real Madrid in the Champions League. And whilst walking off the pitch going down into the tunnel, Balotelli was seen swapping shirts with Pepe. Of all the players he could have picked, he swapped with Pepe. And this would have been probably okay, if Liverpool were winning or drawing. But they were losing. 3-0. 3 goals down, with Ronaldo getting his 70th Champions League goal in this game. Balotelli was then immediately replaced by Adam Lallana, with Brendan Rodgers saying it was a tactical change that happened immediately after this moment happened. So it was definitely because Balotelli came into the dressing room wearing a Real Madrid top. Now, when it comes to completely random picks for players that redefine their position, I think no other player exudes aura in this category than Marouane Fellaini.
Oh, wow! Oh, wow!
This guy was a complete enforcer under the managerial constructs of Jose Mourinho, often deployed as a midfield enforcer or this target man striker. His ability to disrupt opposition play and also score crucial goals was unseen. It was unheard of. But that's what made him a valuable asset during his time. Visualize the 2016 FA Cup semi-final against Everton, where Marouane Fellaini was absolutely crucial for Man United, scoring a vital goal to propel them to the final. It was weird, but somehow very effective. This guy got over 20 goals for Man United. But if we're talking about powerhouse midfielders, how can I not talk about Yaya Toure? A guy that created the roaming playmaker. You would never see a guy with the stature of Yaya Toure be able to play like Yaya Toure did during his prime. He was someone that was able to combine physicality with technique. But Yaya Toure was a playmaker, a 6'3" playmaker, and he's really good.
Definitely, because he's the guy who is really scoring goal like that.
3 Premier League titles, the ability to roam forward from midfield. He could score goals, he could dominate the game physically, and he also sometimes took set pieces. During the 2011 to 2012 Premier League season, I'm telling you, this guy was unstoppable.
If he would be with his
crucial goals against Newcastle United to keep City's title hopes alive. His goal in the 2014 League Cup final from distance. These highlights exemplifying his ability to change a game single-handedly. With over 60 goals and 40 assists for Man City, who would have thought that this guy came to Man City as a central defensive midfielder, a guy that also played centre-back for Barcelona. He was also African Player of the Year 4 years in a row, 2011, 2012, 2013 and 2014 as well. I'm telling you, people came up against Yaya Toure knowing that they were going to be eaten for breakfast. Now, it's Dungy TV commented. It's a bit of a poopy name, Dungy Doodoo. Like, he commented a list. He said Isco, James Rodriguez, Musiala, Wirtz, James Maddison, Dybala, Oscar, Erdegaard, Bruno Fernandes. And again, some of these players are mediocre. Like, James Rodriguez is way out of the game. You know, he's still playing, but he can't translate that and play in the top 5 league anymore. Isco is past his best, but for the longest has always been one of my favorite number 10s of all time. When he was at Real Madrid, you know, when he was even at Malaga, whew. James Maddison is someone that started the season off brilliantly for Tottenham, but slowly but surely has faded out of the game, hasn't really picked up his form since his injury, and unfortunately I can't name him in the bracket of being the new pioneer for this role. Dybala was mentioned a second ago. Oscar is someone that doesn't even play in the top 5 league anymore. Ødegaard plays as an 8, and Bruno Fernandes is fraudulent and probably should be homeless. You know, genuinely. The winger and fullback dynamic. Now this has to be one of the best position link-ups on a football pitch. But lately this partnership is being ushered out of the game, especially with the introduction of inverted fullbacks. These fullbacks that have been programmed to play in a midfield position on the pitch, tucking into the midfield instead of providing an overlap for the winger. So due to this new system that has been put in place, we are seeing wingers and fullbacks link up less. But just because Manchester City don't utilise this partnership on a football pitch doesn't mean it erases the history. Wingers and fullbacks have been linking up for years, with one of the best partnerships in football coming from this exact position link up. Marcelo and Cristiano Ronaldo. Now Marcelo and Cristiano Ronaldo's pairing goes beyond football. Growing up during the golden age of Real Madrid, you would see that these two were not only paired on the pitch, but also pretty much best friends off of it too. And you could see this synergy every time they stepped on a pitch together, with some of Cristiano Ronaldo's most iconic moments coming off the back of a link up with Marcelo. Their understanding of off-ball movement was insane, and again this link up would flourish, with Marcelo's brilliance being a key influence in Ronaldo becoming an inside forward, switching from more of a traditional winger into a wide target man, which would benefit his career massively. Having a fullback and brother on that left hand side was so beneficial to Cristiano Ronaldo's career, with Marcelo's ability to not only manipulate the ball but take on players. Overlapping runs, underlapping runs, Marcelo offered it all, helping Ronaldo become more goal focused and less focused on creating for teammates. Again, with this change skyrocketing Cristiano Ronaldo's legacy. Now Marcelo only assisted Ronaldo 25 times in all competitions, but honestly the influence that they had together is way more than just a number, because even if it wasn't a direct assist, Marcelo was there influencing Ronaldo's game time after time, with one of his high points averaging 2.5 dribbles per game in the 2017-2018 season. Did you guys see El Clasico the other week? A highly anticipated El Clasico took place on October the 26th. Real Madrid, a newly formed side of Galacticos, Mbappe, Vinny Jr, Bellingham, going up against Barcelona, who had 2 deadly duos in this side, one being Hansi Flick and Lewandowski, and the other being Lamine Yamal and Raphinha. And after the first half, casual fans were clicking off because they were thinking that this game was dead. But Hansi Flick must have ignited the troops at half time, because Barcelona came out with a different game plan, hitting Real Madrid with devastating transitions. Lewandowski scored 2 in quick succession, and then you had goals from Lamine Yamal, who calmed down the entire Bernabeu, and then Raphinha late on in the game. It was a beautiful display of football, and genuinely like actual football. Now, starting off with a moment that actually happened at the end of the Premier League season, we have to talk about that Aguero goal, with this moment honestly defining the Premier League from this era. May 13th, 2012, in a game between Manchester City and Queen's Park Rangers, with this game being the final game of the season, which was a must-win for Manchester City. This win would begin a dynasty in Manchester City history, winning them their first title in 44 years. Now, even though Pablo Zabaleta put Manchester City ahead in the game, it wasn't so smooth sailing, as City saw themselves 2-1 down, with Jib Rules scoring and Jamie Mackie, with these goals scored either side of a Joey Barton red card. A chaotic moment in this match took place, with Joey Barton, kicking, pulling, headbutting and elbowing these Manchester City players. It was a moment of madness which sent the game into a spiral, with these QPR players actually getting under the skin of Manchester City. Joey Barton was then sent off and QPR scored a goal, and Man City fans thought it was all over, with Manchester United fans celebrating in their stadium. But creeping ever so slowly into the dying embers of the game, Edin Dzeko showed up with a header late on in the game to bring Manchester City level with QPR. But it wasn't this goal that would seal them the title, it was an Argentinian Smurf that stepped up. An icon of the game and one of the best strikers in Premier League history. After being played in by Mario Balotelli, Sergio Aguero scored a goal in the 93rd minute of the game, sealing them the title and reigning on the parade of Manchester United. Manchester City won the Premier League on the final day via goal difference, making this moment the only time in Premier League history where that's been the case. Man City had 44 shots and 81% possession in this game, and it capped off an unforgettable finale to the season. Aguero! It's just not the same. You know, it's just not the same if I'm doing it. 2012 was also the year that Atletico Madrid absolutely demolished Bilbao 3-0 in the Europa League final, with a breakout player in the tournament being Radamel Falcao, who scored 12 goals throughout it and a brace in the final. This again, like many other teams that I spoke about in this video, was the rise of Atletico Madrid underneath Diego Simeone, where that dynasty would begin and they will go on to see so much success. Now next up we got to talk about a Polish giant, Lewandowski. Get to the chopper! Now Lewandowski, during the 2020-21 season, again, come on, it's not even a joke. You know, this guy played so good during this season, yeah, that they had to rig the Ballon d'Or ceremony. France football said, no, you ain't getting nothing, yeah? Poland, what have they done for France? They did nothing for France. He scored 48 goals in all competitions that season. He won the European Golden Shoe. He won the Bundesliga. Of course he did. What else do you expect? Muller was right to call this guy Lewandowski, because that's what he does. And you can't just say, oh, he was that good because he went to the best team in the Bundesliga. No. Lewandowski was still Lewandowski when he was playing for Borussia Dortmund. Let's not forget when he absolutely blasted Real Madrid in the Champions League. And then let's look at him now, TikTok dancing his way to a La Liga title this season. 100%. This is one of the best strikers from the last, 20 years. He's top 5 minimum. People will say, oh, Luis Suarez. Bro, am I rating Luis Suarez? This guy is racist, but he's racist. Now, football is a game of fine margins where one performance can dictate an entire game, transcending the match itself and leaving cement in the other player's boots. This feeling of having a 10 out of 10 performance is like knowing that you're in the zone. Give this guy the ball, because today he is going to take over this entire game, entering the doors of the zone and becoming a puppet master of this field of grass. So today we're back talking about some 10 out of 10 performances in football. And first off, we have to talk about a Polish striker that made a name for himself in Germany. During a Bundesliga game back in 2015 between Bayern Munich and Wolfsburg, Lewandowski said, you know what, I'm taking over this game and you can't do anything about it. Now, the scene had been set with Wolfsburg stunning Bayern Munich, scoring a goal in the first half. And this had the doubters doubting, with Pep Guardiola looking like a fraud. Bayern Munich fans were seeing their bald-headed manager with his hands on his head. And with all this firepower in their starting lineup, they still couldn't manage to break down Wolfsburg. But at halftime, Pep Guardiola made one of the best managerial decisions in his entire career. He brought on a world-class striker. What is this? Ultimate Team. Robert Lewandowski came onto the pitch in that second half. And what followed was a spectacle that defied belief. This guy came onto the pitch and within 9 minutes and 9 touches scored 5 goals. Some people don't even have that many goals in their entire footballing career. Yep, Lewandowski scored that in 9 minutes. A goal in the 51st, a goal in the 52nd, a goal in the 55th, a goal in the 57th, and a goal in the 60th. This is like when you're playing FIFA and you just give the controller pad to your older brother and say, please save me, I'm losing 2-0. 10 out of 10. We have to talk about Zidane versus Brazil in the 2006 World Cup. Going into this game, Zidane had already been impactful during the tournament with an amazing performance against Spain. With that finish when he cut in from the left hand side and put it underneath the legs of Casillas that really comes to mind. But again, walking into this quarter-final, this was a different beast that Zidane and his French army had to take on. A beast that was filled with Brazilian ballers from the favelas. R9, Roberto Carlos, Kaká, Ronaldinho, Cafu. How many players were in this team? Even the midfield that was structured in this game to break down Zidane, the likes of Gilberto Silva and Zé Roberto. But within the first 10 seconds of the game, Zidane had already been dancing through this midfield. Zidane was so influential during this 90 minutes against Brazil, with 103 touches and 92% pass accuracy. It was like the Brazilian players were being schooled by a Frenchman in their own game. And this wasn't a spring chicken Zidane. Zidane really came out of retirement and decided to put on a symphony for Brazil, absolutely dancing around them for 90 minutes. You saw touches, flicks and tricks throughout the entire game, and he just oozed this elegance on the ball, completing 3 key passes in the game and a pinpoint free kick that picked out who else but Thierry Henry, who won the game. He executed 7 completed dribbles in the game and really controlled and dictated the midfield. Of course, France would go on to win the tie against Brazil thanks to this amazing 10 out of 10 performance, and then Zidane would again be influential against the likes of Portugal.
Great.
Now, Risk Everything was an absolute movie. Well, the movie was actually called The Last Game, but literally it was a movie, with all the best players in football being cloned by the new era, forcing the original players to go into hiding. Football was then left to become this pragmatic, robotic game with little to no risks, with the slogan Risk Everything being spun into Risk Nothing. And without the originals, the world of football was at risk. But a superhero showed up. R9 Ronaldo, gathering all the original footballers to play one final match, battling the clones to take back the beautiful game. This is the perfect depiction of what football is to this day, with this hyper focus on stats and key metrics putting players in a box. No more Joga Benito, no more total football. Everybody seems to be playing the same patterns and formations. It's like this advert just predicted what football would become, because 10 years later, it's real. We are suffering from a recession of freedom. But all in all, an amazing advert, and I didn't even mention that it was animated. Scouser. Let's quickly talk about Steven Gerrard through 2008 to 2009. Now, during this time, Gerrard showcased his peak form, solidifying his reputation as one of the Premier League's all-time best midfielders. During this season, Steven Gerrard from central midfield scored 16 goals, finishing 3rd in the league behind the likes of Nicolas Anelka and Cristiano Ronaldo, whilst also providing 9 assists and getting 25 goal involvements during the season. This was in a season where he only played 31 games. Not the quickest of players or most agile, he still thrived in behind Fernando Torres. And unfortunately, he only led Liverpool to finish 2nd in the league that season with 86 points. But during this time, that was their highest ever Premier League finish. This season will always remain as one of the most complete displays from a midfielder in Premier League history. And I think Steven Gerrard's influence is way too understated, especially in the modern game. There's all these midfielders now that want to run up and down the pitch, help out defensively and score goals, whilst also being physical enough and passionate enough to lead a game. Steven Gerrard was that guy. Now, staying up in this area of England, we have to talk about Marcus Rashford. It feels like just yesterday when Marcus Rashford broke into the scene and scored against Arsenal, putting his name on the map and being one of these young promising stars that we would later see flourish. But over these years, we've seen a rocky turn of events for Marcus Rashford's career, with more of a focus on what he does off the pitch than on it. And I don't think it helps that he's been stuck in this Manchester United system that hasn't been stable. And with this lack of stability in that Man United side, Marcus Rashford's form has been erratic. But football fans know that Marcus Rashford was the truth, stepping up in the big games when Man United needed him. He's someone that I think genuinely needs an arm around his shoulder, someone to really guide him in the right direction. We also saw glimpses of his world-class potential back in 2022 to 2023, when he mustered up 30 goals in all competitions that season. But so far this season, in a struggling Man United side, he's mustered up 1 goal. And it's especially bad because this attacking force is now reliant on him when it comes to his offensive output. He is no longer this young prospect, with guys like Garnacho, Diallo and Højlund all chomping at the bit to get a piece of Marcus Rashford's legacy. And if he doesn't start putting up numbers this season, then again, he could be out the door. And I don't think this situation is going to end well, especially with Ten Hag at the wheel. I think maybe if Man United get rid of Ten Hag and they bring in a new manager, they could get the best out of Marcus Rashford, because I know that that latent potential is there. It just needs to be unlocked. Batigol! Batistuta was an Argentine legend of the game. This guy was a prolific goal scorer that had a mixture of physicality and on-the-ball skill. And he is known as one of the greatest strikers from the 1990s and the 2000s. Batistuta was a goal scorer. In 94/95, he got 26 goals for Fiorentina, scoring in 11 consecutive matches that season. Then in the 98/99 season, he scored 21 goals in just 28 games, playing a crucial role in Fiorentina's title challenge that season. And again, this was him progressing with Fiorentina. You know, he kind of stayed there from when they were relegated and brought them all the way up. And then even when he moved to AS Roma during the 2000s, he still replicated the goal scoring ability that he had back then, helping Roma in their historic season winning Serie A in the 2000s. But this guy was not only influential for his club, he was influential for Argentina on the international stage, helping them win Copa America back in 1991 with his 6 goals. And then in 95, he helped them again. They didn't win that year, but still, he got goals in that competition. Now in the 2019/20 season, an unexpected rivalry would blossom, commencing again in the round of 16, when Borussia Dortmund took on PSG. With this clash featuring a cast that was star-studded, a Dortmund side that were coming up in the ranks, Jadon Sancho flourishing week after week, becoming one of the best wingers in the world, also harbouring the talents of a Moroccan fullback, Hakimi, and finally the cherry on top of the cake, Erling Haaland starting up front. A brand new striker that was taking over European football, inserting his name with some of the best players in the world. But this PSG side that they came up against had some of the best players in the world, with a front three of Di Maria, Mbappe, and who else but Neymar Jr. And the first leg at the Signal Iduna Park didn't really go to plan for this multi-million-pound team. Despite tension throughout the entire game, Haaland broke the deadlock in the 69th minute after a shot was parried into his direction. Capitalising on this mistake, Haaland drew first blood. But Thomas Tuchel's side were not just going to give in like that. With a mazy run and a ball across the box heading into the path of Neymar Jr, who slotted it away. But before they could even finish celebrating, Dortmund were already on the attack, with the ball being given to Haaland, and what else does this guy do? He thrashes the ball into the back of the net, shaking the goal on impact. The stadium goes wild. These Borussia Dortmund players have shocked this team of all-stars. And with PSG only managing 1 away goal, they had to turn up when Dortmund came to their home ground. But this result that these PSG players needed came with an incentive, because going into this second leg, Erling Haaland would make a social media post, following up with a quote declaring that Paris is my city, a statement that would eventually go to bite him in the batty crease, adding fuel to a fire that was already burning. Going into that second leg, it was like a theme of Brazilian samba started to play, because even though this side was based in France, it was led at the time by a Brazilian magician. 28 minutes in and a ball goes into the box, and who else is there to header it away? Neymar Jr diving in, starting a comeback, with his celebration explaining all that we needed to know. And by the end of the first half, the game was already over, with Bernat scoring the second. PSG led 2-0, and for the entire game, they displayed their dominance, with Neymar again being one of the key players that ran the show. It was his work, his effort and control that really dictated a lot of the game. And of course, that social media post that Haaland made lingered in the heads of the PSG players once that final whistle was blown, with Neymar making a post that Paris is our city, not yours, and a lot of the PSG players going on to mock Erling Haaland's celebration. This was pure football revenge at its finest, and I was loving it. Thomas Tuchel's men would eventually reach the final, but ultimately lose to Bayern Munich, dampening the mood on what would have been a historic campaign. Just imagine if Neymar and Mbappe were able to pull it off. This is Jamie Vardy, an absolute legend of the game, a guy that makes people think that the impossible is possible. This guy wasn't even playing professional football till about 26, and he got picked up and made a name for himself at Leicester City. He's gone to do so many things throughout his illustrious career, and one of the things that he did was go on a generational run of form. In the 2015-16 season, Jamie Vardy redefined what it meant to be an underdog. Jamie Vardy this season broke Ruud van Nistelrooy's record, scoring 11 goals in 11 consecutive matches. He was absolutely amazing and relentless. This was a striker that the Premier League had never seen before. This archetype of striker, again, had never been seen. It was like having a guy on PEDs up top. He was running at defenses like a madman, arms flailing, taking the ball off opponents, and also getting in behind and scoring absolute bangers. He had nothing to lose and everything to gain. This was a season for this underdog story to really be crowned as the one. And one goal that rings a bell is that stunning volley he scored against Liverpool in February of 2016. He also recorded 6 match-winning goals that season, making him the difference in these 6 games. Vardy that season was of course one of the main reasons why Leicester City did so well and eventually won the league. He also would finish the campaign winning the Player of the Season and immortalizing his impact in the league. For most kids that grew up in the 2010s, this was the advert. The one that inspired, evoked emotion and lingered on the playground. This advert became a staple for the average kid, with a plot that involved normal lads having a kickabout in a park whilst transforming into their favourite players. Living out a dream that every boy has dreamt. Because who hasn't played football once with their friends before and called out a player's name? Then during that session of football, you're emulating the player's skills and their style of play. It's like every football fan growing up just lived this exact same childhood, and this advert evoked them emotions. This feeling of nostalgia injecting the older football fans, but also a new light being shone on the younger football fans coming up. The switching of sceneries, the music in the background, the magistas and superflies that were on display, the comedic timing of some of the jokes, the random cameo from the Incredible Hulk, and of course that Panenka taken by a boy who was playing as himself. It all just tied in perfectly to create a special advert for football fans. Back in the 2000s, the lack of social media was also beneficial, making players more attached to their club, their job, and how fans reacted in game. All these factors could directly affect a player's performance. It's like players had a more genuine relationship with their clubs. Nowadays, a 5-0 loss would result in a heartless Instagram story or a Twitter post. But back during the prime 2000s era, the apology would be a statement in the next game. There would be no hiding behind this screen. You'd have to prove that you were good enough to play for this club in the next game live. There were defenders who were real men, going head first into challenges, and no, I am not talking about Phil Jones. It's kind of like finishing a series that you held so close to your heart, whether it's an anime or a TV show. You had connections to these characters. You loved this show and everything about it. You laughed at the jokes, cried at the sad scenes, and everything was a part of your life. You related to some of the scenes, even some of the characters, but slowly but surely that series comes to an end. When that series ends, you're left in this dark place. I don't know where to go. My favorite series is done. But then a month goes by and you found a new show. You found new things to enjoy. You found new characters to enjoy. That's what's happening, or that's what's happened in football over the last, let's say, 5 years. Messi's been gone, Ronaldo's been gone, Neymar's left, Benzema's left, Cavani's gone, Suarez is gone, Iniesta went, Xavi went. All these players left, but new ones came in, new refreshing ballers, new skills, new systems. And it's the changing of the guard, the changing of the royal guards. The two that pioneered the game are being phased out. The supernovas are looking to take over, looking to defeat the Yonko and take over this new world that we live in and find that treasure. The One Piece is real.
Can we get much higher? So high.
So yeah.
Can we get much higher?
Now, if you made it to this part of the video, you are a real one, because you not only watched the intro, you watched the compilation, but you were still here. And for those that are still here, let's get a bit serious. Let's do a little life update. What actually happened in 2024 for Jib, Now, at the start of 2024, I was working in a primary school as a mentor to the kids. I was mentoring them, their behavior, their actions, and I was actually liking my job a lot. However, as the months went on, I started to find that I actually liked making YouTube videos. I was only taking it serious for the last year, and then people started to like the football videos, and in the back of my brain, even when I had like 4,000 subscribers, I'm thinking I could probably do this full time. But in about, I think it was July or maybe August of 2024, the channel finally got monetized. So that means that videos that I would make and also videos that I had made before could be monetized and generate revenue for the channel and aka me. So pretty much it put me in a place where if I was to go all in and just make YouTube videos, I would make enough to get by. So I made that decision in the past year to not look for a new job when my old job said, you know what, the school's closing. Yeah, you need to just get a new job. Well, I didn't. I decided, let me just do YouTube full time, and here we are, red hat on, J-Wick t-shirt on, and we're doing things. So that's why I thought, you know, let's just do it and do it well. And in the past year, we made some of the best football videos, you know, football videos that the commentary football scene has ever seen before. You know, why did 2000s football look like that? You know, the peak of 2000 strikers, you know, all these videos that people are not really thinking about. So if I can do that this year, but also blend in, you know, new topics where we talk about, you know, matches that have just happened on the weekend and transfers that are happening, then you guys are going to get the best of both worlds. And this year we're going to really take it to that next level in 2025. This year is all about discipline, consistency, and I hope you guys take those values and, you know, implement them into your own goals this year. Stay safe, stay blessed, and peace.